Hi, and welcome to this programming procedure video for the Roving Roombot activity by MyBot. First thing you need to do is go to your MyBot interface on your computer and then launch Blockly. For information on how to do so, you can refer to your MyBot Basics document. Once you're in your new scene, click on the Save File icon. This will allow you to name your file. Do so and name it Roving Roombot, and then click OK. We need to create a code that will run continuously following a series of rules. In order to do that, we're going to start by going into the Loops menu. You can find all of these menus here along the left. From the Loops menu, we're going to grab a Repeat While True command and bring it into our scene. Make sure that you bring it and lock it onto the existing Fusion Start command that you can see here by default is loaded on your scene. Next, we need to set up the rules for the robot. These will use a logic command. When you go to the logic menu, you can then grab an if-do command at the top and drag it in and set it so that it is nested within your repeat command that you added before. Now we don't just want it to be an if-do command, because we want it to set up in such a way that it's more of an if-else command. So if this is correct, do that. Otherwise, or else, do something else. And so to do that, to change this type of a command into an if-else, click on the gear icon within the command. And when you click on that, you get settings for this type of command. To change it into an if-else, grab the else and drag it onto the bottom of the if command here within your settings window. Now you notice when I did that, the command down here adjusted itself accordingly. So now we have an if, do, else set up. Click on the gear again to close out the settings. Now to set up the rules, we need to build a command that compares a sensor reading to a given value. And in order to set up some sort of comparison, we need the computer to use logic. So again, we're going to go back into the logic commands, and this time we're going to grab the second one. What this is a comparison block, and when I drag it in, I can connect it to the end of my if command. So this is going to tell us if something here is somehow related to something here, then do this. Otherwise, do this. And what we're reading is a sensor. So the next thing we need to do is go into our sensors menu. In this case, we're using the Optical Distance Sensor. So under Sensors, click where it says Optical Distance Sensor. There's only one option here, so bring that into the first field of your comparison block. That command says read optical distance sensor on port A0. Now this is where it's important to check your specific MyBot robot to make sure that the optical distance sensor is connected to port A0. If it's not, use the drop down here to select the appropriate port on your robot. But now what we want to do is to have it take a reading from the sensor, and if it is greater than a certain value, then we want it to behave in one way. Essentially what we're doing is setting up a command that tells it, if you can tell that you're over white, then we want you to do this. But if you hit one of those black lines, we need you to do something else. So to make it into a greater than command instead of an equals command like it has now in this comparison, simply use the drop down and select the greater than symbol from the selected options. Now we need to put a value in this final block here on our comparison block. So to do that, we're going to go into Math. And the very top selection in Math is simply a value. It's a number. So click on that and bring it into the final section of your if command. You can then insert a value that works for your specific robot. Depending on the lighting and environment that you're in, this number might vary. As a hint, you might want to start somewhere in the 400 to 600 range. Now the rest of it is up to you. Set up the do command for what you want the robot to do when it is over the white, and set up the else command for what you want it to do when it runs into one of those pieces of black tape, aka the wall of your room. When you have a program you think works, click play and see what it does. Once you have a working program, it might look something like this. Great job figuring that out! Now let's see what you can adjust to your code to further optimize the efficiency of your robot.